Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to the Accelerator with Michael Conniff. That's me, your host. We are a podcast designed for startups, entrepreneurs, accelerators, incubators, also the family offices, investors, VCs, and angels who are most interested in those founders. And we are delighted today to be joined by Courtney Presto. She happens to be the CEO and founder of the company called Presto. How would you describe Presto in a nutshell, in a sentence, Courtney?
So Presto is the first and only social media platform that pays every single one of our content creators. We're monetizing artists with absolutely no barrier to entry. What's really unique about us is that you can sign up and start earning money right away. And we're really proud to support content creators in 22 different countries.
Okay, that's great. Now I have to ask you because I know the answer to this. You have a company that is named after you, but that was only after you had another name and then tested about 30 different names, and everybody loved your name.
Yeah, that's true. So our original name of our company was called Voice, Voyce. And so we launched our product and we've been in the market for several months. We were doing partnerships with influencers and they were tagging the wrong accounts on Instagram and our other social media. And a lot of people couldn't remember the name. We had horrible SEO. So we decided to rebrand and we tested like 20 or 30 different options like Fire, Hype, Vibe, Viber. Like we had like so many, truly so many. And Presto won by far by a lot because the pitch was like, Presto, you're instantly a content
Yeah.
creator. You're instantly a paid artist. And nobody knew it was my last name. And I didn't really want to name it after myself, but here we are.
This will ultimately make you famous, but it's
Yeah.
funny about this. I was one of the first companies I started working with in the startup space had an unpronounceable company name. I mean, literally, like you couldn't pronounce it. And I said, and they had a video compression software, and I tried to convince them to change their name to Presto. Believe it or not, I failed, but thank you for confirming that this is a great name that they should have taken because it's a great idea. Now, your company is very interesting. Hidden beneath this, I'm going to actually cut to what I think is the chase with Presto, among other things, because there are a lot of you put a lot of interesting elements together, including sort of the ability to vote and tokenize and so on. But one of the things has to do with your background, and you come from the ad tech business at Disney. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Tell
Um,
us,
I
yeah, tell us what you did there.
So I spent the first majority of my career doing product and market research for Disney and their advanced ad tech department. So basically doing specialized research on platform monetization in the streaming space. So
Hmm.
for Twitch, for Hulu, for ABC, A&E, Lifetime, NBC, a bunch of other associate streaming platforms and publishers that they work with, researching what is the most efficient and like positive user experience to monetize their platforms. Like I said, in a more efficient way, because we all know about commercials. Like ads have been around forever. But really, like the idea with Presto is that less ads is actually better. If you can get users in a space where they're consuming a small amount of ads, but every time you're interacting with an ad, it's a very high quality impression. Ultimately, it's a better user experience because users aren't bombarded with ads the same way that they are on Instagram. If you're scrolling on Instagram, you'll see every 5 or 6 post is an ad. They get high impressions, but very low engagement, and it's really hard to stand out in that environment. But what we've done on Presto is we've made users have actually be able to consent to watching ads. So on Presto, there are no ads really anywhere. There's no ads on the feed. There's no ads like in any screens. Like, we don't actually ever show you ads unless you, as the user, go and seek them out with the understanding that you're consenting to watch this ad and you're watching it in exchange for basically us rewarding you for your attention and your engagement.
And so, you're, in a sense, you're getting paid to watch the ad, which we'll get to in just a moment. But before we jump, you're such a good spokesperson for Presto. It's hard for me to keep you off the subject. But what did you learn in studying all of that advertising technology and different approaches at Disney? So that's a real opportunity, really a great opportunity, probably an unprecedented opportunity, at least in the near term. What did you learn?
Oh my God, I'm such a good question. I don't think I can summarize it in just a quick sentence or two.
Well,
I
we have
think
time. This is a podcast. We have time. You can actually, I'm not looking for you to summarize it. I want you to tell us in detail.
So I think the first thing I learned a lot about advertising trends in the industry and how these huge brands worked because I interfaced directly with hundreds of tier one advertisers. So your Nikes, your Home Depots, your Macy's, like talking to these clients and kind of like what their strategies are, how they're marketing themselves in the digital environment. And a huge strategy that everybody's using right now is called spray and pray advertising. Um, and it's basically this idea that we know on the general internet that there are a ton of bots and, like 20 to 25% on the low end of your impressions go to either unview people who aren't viewing or directly to bots. So this idea of spray and pray advertising is let's use a ton of really low quality, low value impressions that are inexpensive. You can buy them in bulk. You can, buy like millions of them for pretty cheap. Understanding that probably a lot of them are definitely not going to hit our consumers, but probably won't even hit people. But having this huge presence online with lots of impressions. That's why, like, if you go online, you'll see like the same Best Buy ad like 100,000 times, and it ends up being so annoying. So it's kind of like a really outdated strategy because now there's so many ad products that do try to prioritize attention and engagement off of social. There's actually no ad products that do that on social, but like that's what Disney was doing. And so they were kind of revolutionizing the advertising industry in that way. I think the other thing that I found really interesting is it's not necessarily related to ad products, but it's more of an ad strategy finding. We as advertising professionals underestimate the importance of sequential messaging. So campaigns that include sequential messaging are at the bare minimum 3 times more likely to drive cross-funnel lift from awareness through intent. And really the reason is, and that's even true when you look, so I looked at one campaign that just had one creative, one campaign that had one creative with multiple, like a very high frequency, one creative with intentional sequential messaging. So that is like story A and then story B. And then another campaign that had 2 creatives, but they weren't intentionally sequential. And the intentionally sequential creative was 3 times higher than the second most effective creative, which was the two different creatives that were not intentionally sequential.
So define sequential for us.
So that would be like you start telling the story in ad 1, and then in the second ad you finish that story, or you expand it into it's kind of takes like more of the creative, more of the narrative, more of the storytelling aspects of advertising that really resonates with consumers. They like to see, they don't actually mind interacting with a brand multiple times, but they get very bored very quickly if those impressions aren't intentional, the second impression that they spend with the brand. I don't know if that's making sense, but it's basically...
No, it is. That's interesting, yeah.
Yeah, it's
So,
basically this idea of allowing brands to tell their story, to start a story and then finish telling it at a later point in time, basically.
so how did you take all of this experience, all of these findings, these interesting things you were privy to, and how are they reflected in Presto? Now, the last time we spoke, not long ago, you had about 8,000 users. Is that still the case? Is are you still around that number?
Yeah, we have like 9,000, but still around that number. Yeah.
Okay. So, what did you learn, and how did you put it to work?
So, I don't know if I mentioned this already, but I'm a content creator myself. I work. This was true before Presto. I actually went to USC. I have 2 degrees. One in as a BFA in film production, and the other is a computer science engineering degree. And so, really, when I was working at Disney, this was truly the intersection of my two passions, was using technology in a very narrative way, but using the data driven insights that I could glean to be creative and tell a story. And from that, I was doing all of this research and I realized that, yeah, this is true for the streaming space and it is working really well for the streaming space. But nobody is doing this in social for the application of being able to monetize small content creators. As a small content creator myself, I'm not someone who is necessarily seeking fame. I don't necessarily want to have 1 million Instagram followers and do brand deals. I just like to shoot content because I like to shoot content. I like to collab with my friends, but I don't necessarily want to make that a full-time career. And, talking to my peers, I realized that there is a huge opportunity to bring this to other people like me, people who want to be content creators, but don't necessarily want to invest the crazy time, and money that it takes. It usually takes content creators 6 months to make their first dollar. And that's the minimum. Like it can take people much longer if they ever do end up getting monetized because that path to monetization is so difficult.
So, tell us how you create the path to monetization for creators.
So it's actually built into our platform, which is it's only pretty much true for Presto. There's no real path to monetization that is built into Instagram. On Instagram, large creators will grow their audience, so they have this like huge desirable audience, and then they do the legwork to make partnerships with brands who would like to work with them.
Mhm.
That's a huge undertaking. Most people actually hire agents to do it because that in and of itself could be a full-time job of sending emails, and you also as a creator have to care about your brand safety. You're oftentimes not making content that is aligned with your artistic vision. It's to beat the algorithm, or it's to make make me desirable to this brand, or to gain more followers in a certain demographic. And what I'm talking about is a platform for artists. This is not really a platform for people who, on Instagram, like want to kind of do this, like be chasing the algorithm, like working with the system type energy. Like this is for the creators who feel like, I consult and I work with influencers and they always talk to me about how they feel like their creativity is kind of dying or they're selling out in this way when they're seeking traditional monetization methods. On Presto, the monetization is built in. So and it's kind of similar to YouTube, where YouTube pays content creators directly. But unlike YouTube, on YouTube, you get paid when someone views your content. On Presto, you get paid based on how much someone likes your content. And you, as a user, can like a piece of content as many times as you want. So now we've opened up monetization to creators that have 5 followers, 10 followers. It really doesn't, you could have the smallest audience, but if your audience is highly engaged with you, you can still make reliable supplemental income on our platform. And that is really the purpose of Presto. That is like the heart and soul and the real objective that we're trying to capture.
So, tell us, a big part of that is what you call vibes, which on other platforms are more like likes. But what's the difference between a vibe and a like?
So a like is binary. Do you like something or do you not like it? On Instagram, it's your double tap. You can only like something once. And, there's like a lot of internet culture about liking or disliking something. And when I was designing Presto, I knew that the way that we had to interact with content, it had to be different. It could not be alike. Vibes are an in-app currency, but it's really a social currency. And it tells you, like I said before, it tells you how much you like something. But in our lexicon, it's how much are you vibing with this? Like, I'm really vibing with this artist. I think it's cool. I want to interact with this person. I want to stand out. So I'm going to give them like 100,000 vibes, put myself at the top of their list, and maybe they'll shout me out in a post, or maybe they'll shout me out in another comment. So it really gives the opportunity for users to like super fan over the people that they really follow. And it gives content creators the opportunity to engage with a smaller audience that really loves them. So there's like a general internet philosophy. I did not come up with this, but I very much vibe with it, if you will. um, and it's a strategy that I use in my consultation relationships with my influencers, which is that if you're, creating content, you really want to be creating content for your first 1,000 fans. It doesn't matter how big your audience is. You want to be creating content for the people who will follow you everywhere, who support you no matter what, and, who resonate with the content that you're posting, who vibe with you, if you will. And so Presto is predicated on this idea that you can monetize that small 1,000 followers. You can't do that on other platforms. There's no way to like scale up a number that's not scalable.
So, okay, so walk us through this. So a creator gets on your, let's say an artist, a graphic artist gets on your platform, starts to put stuff, starts to post, I assume. And users start to, first of all, how do they get vibes? Vibes are, I guess they get a certain number of vibes when they join, but how do vibes work?
Yeah. So, unlike on likes, you technically have an unlimited number of likes. You can give likes to every post on Instagram if you wanted to. Vibes are a currency. So you earn them and you spend them. You earn them by watching ads, by buying them outright from the App Store, or by referring your friends. And so basically you earn them by doing these, like high value actions to us, and then you can give those vibes to content creators to pay them. So the implication is that really what you're doing is I'm letting our users determine how we allocate our creator fund. I don't want to make those decisions the same way that YouTube does. YouTube makes that decision. They look at every creator and say, I'm going to pay you this much. I'm going to pay you that much. I'm going to pay you this much. And ultimately, creators perceive that as being very unfair. Look at the lawsuits of the LGBTQ creators who are suing YouTube. I think there's there's either 9 or 12 of them that are suing YouTube right now for, unfair discrimination based on monetization. I don't want to make those choices. I think that it's better to empower my audience to choose who gets monetized on my platform. And that's essentially what Vibes allows our audience to do.
So just to follow the chain, follow the currency. So I give 1,000 vibes to a creator I really like. How does that turn into money for the creator?
5,000 vibes is $1. So if you gave 5,000 vibes to my post, that's instantly going into my bank account. We're partnered with Stripe, and so we have it's very similar to Venmo. If you've ever used Venmo, it's like you have your Presto balance, it's in US dollars, and you can just transfer it to your bank account as soon as you accumulate more than $2.
So the vibes sort of automatically turn into dollars.
Yep.
And okay, so who is give us an idea of the creator who has turned this into some actual money, and how much money?
So you'd be surprised because on other platforms, the creators that, turn their followers into money are the ones that are, very like have the biggest audience. They're posting for the lowest common denominator. Our creators who have the highest like monetization rate, if that's what you want to call it,
Yeah.
are our creators with around between like 300 and 1,000 followers, because their audience is small enough for them to have a personal relationship with every single person that they follow. They are really creating meaningful moments of engagement with everybody who vibes with them. So if someone's commenting on their post, they're replying. They're vibing with the people who comment with them. They're shouting people out. They have a it's a two-way relationship that you don't get to have when you have a larger audience. When you have a very small audience, you can really cater your content to be very specific and direct. Our users who have, that small following range are cashing out $100 to $300 a month, sometimes as much as 1,000. But it really depends. How much are you posting? How much are you engaging your audience? Those are our two like main driving factors. And uniquely, our discovery algorithm does not care about your followers, and it does not care about your historical performance. It only cares whether you are posting original content. If we feel confident that you're posting original content, we will boost you in the discovery algorithm. And then from there, we let our users decide if it should be highly discoverable or not. And so having a very engaged audience means that your posts will show up on their following feed, and they'll engage with you enough to boost you in the
So
discovery algorithm.
what kind of creators are on the platform?
So we have a lot of travel influencers. That was actually the first like demographic or like content, I guess, type of influencer that we partnered with. Because when you think about travel, it is a huge overhead cost. You're paying for these tickets to, you know, exotic countries, museums, hotels, whatever. And I wouldn't say it's necessarily difficult for those creators to monetize, but the small aspiring influencers, who are the ones that we're catering towards, they're definitely not monetized yet. And so we help them actually offset the cost of their, influencer business. So we have lots of travel influencers on there right now. We also have a good like mommy community. There's kind of a trend of momfluencers, who are women who kind of post tips about caring for their kids, tips about, like just mom life in general, how to reduce stress. So we have a nice mom culture. We also have a small deaf community on our app, which is really cool. We have, creators doing tutorials for sign language. We have creators just talking about their daily lives. And I think that's so interesting. So I'm really excited to see that kind of pop up totally randomly.
Yeah, that is exciting. So I want you to go back, put your ad tech hat back on, because you have some interesting ideas about how to raise the CPM or lower the CPM. So how do you do that? How does that work?
Yes. So that goes back into what I was saying of creating an environment with a very small amount of ads, but those ads being very high quality. Because right now the average CPM is very low. It depends on the medium, but on Facebook it is around $6 to $7 per 1,000 impressions, which is very, very low. And that is because those impressions are very low quality. An impression is defined as 50% of the pixels in screen for 1 to 2 seconds. So if you can imagine a flash of an image, I'm not guaranteeing that I even see the name of your brand. I might not even know what this ad is about. It might not have even loaded for me at all. And then to take an aside, I would love to just talk about YouTube ads for a second, because YouTube ads, the skippable ones, are self-selecting attention paying people out of the experience. So you know the ads I'm talking about, right? The skippable ads, right?
I am so glad you brought that up, because I have been watching a lot of YouTube lately, and I feel like The next time I have to skip an ad, I'm going to kill myself because because I hate these businesses. Though I like YouTube, I hate these businesses that are basically built on tricking you. And here's what I mean. So when you get the first ad when you sign on, it allows you to skip after 4 or 5 seconds. I think 5 seconds. Um, and I do. And then the next ad that comes on, you can't. It doesn't let you skip. But what it says is um, something like programming will resume after the ad, which is not true because you have to then watch another ad. So
Right.
they've tricked you into watching two ads, and then if you switch from one video to another, a lot of times you'll have to watch another ad. So it's like this constant tug of war between like, here's what I really want to watch, and you're making me watch this stuff I don't want to watch. And I guess it's better that they allow you to skip, but they don't consistently allow you to skip. That's sort of like a teaser. That's sort of to give you the impression that you're skipping a lot of their ads when really you're not. You're getting most of their ads. Anyway.
Well, let me ask you a question. Do you think the advertiser pays more when you skip that impression or when you watch that impression?
I would think when you watch it, of course.
Right. So now think about it this way. You are sitting in front of your computer or your TV and you are paying attention to the screen and you skip it. That would have been a very high quality impression because I know with certainty that you have your remote in your hand, you're paying attention to the screen prompts, and this would be like what is an attentive impression. Instead of showing you an ad, you're skipping that ad. And I, as the advertiser, am paying when people don't skip, which is when they're out of the room or they're listening on their phone in the background or they're, not paying attention to the screen. Maybe they're having a conversation or maybe there's, something else happening in the room. So like this idea that you're skipping ads and you're not paying for the ads that you skip, but you are paying for the ads when people watch it passively is ridiculous to me. I mean, that is the opposite of what these advertisers want. They want to know that the person watching their ad is paying attention, and YouTube is guaranteeing that they're showing your ad to people who are not paying attention. I don't understand that. So on Presto, we've done the exact opposite. Instead of basically you're incentivized to skip on YouTube, we're incentivizing you to watch the ad. So it's basically, instead of having like negative feedback, which was what you would have on YouTube, we're giving you like a positive response. We know at the time of the impression when someone opts into the ad, we know they're paying attention, and we're only on mobile. So we know this.
They have to opt into the ad.
Yes.
So ipso facto, they are paying more attention. They've sort of asked to see it. So it is the opposite. And then they get paid in vibes, right?
Yes.
Which is the currency of Presto.
Yes.
So we are, forgive me, we are just about out of time.
That went by so quickly. Oh my gosh.
Well, I'll be honest with you, Courtney. That went by quickly for me too, because normally, full disclosure, I have to, not all interviews are easy, and I usually have a very close sense of like where we are in the interview, like how much time has gone by, how much time is left. And in this interview, I didn't look up until the 15-minute mark. So that's about, that shows my attention span was high. Yes, I think it's been very interesting, and you're terrific. You look, you're coming to us from Happy Valley, Pennsylvania, and you're home. I want to point that out. And you look, you seem very childlike, but you seem to know more about this than anybody else.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. I look very young, and I definitely hope I look young until I die.
Yeah, may we all be that lucky. But listen, where can people sign up for Presto?
So you can find us at presto.social, HTTPS, presto.social. It's not .com, it's .social. And you can also find us on Instagram at presto.social. If you search us on either app store, we're on either app store, search us Presto. You could also search Presto Social. Yeah, and I hope everybody watching this, or at least a subset, will download it and enjoy being a paid content creator.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Such a different model and really innovative, and comes out of your this background that's both film at USC and computer engineering, and all this work with Disney ads. So great job so far. Thank you, Courtney. It's great to know you, and really delighted to have you on the accelerator today.
Oh, Michael, thank you so much. I just wanted to extend gratitude for such a wonderful and amazing conversation and the opportunity to appear here. I was truly looking forward to this for the whole week that we scheduled it, so I really appreciate it, and I just wanted to extend my gratitude. Thank you.
Well, if it's amazing, it's because of you. So well done. This is the Accelerator with Michael Conniff. You can find me on Twitter at Michael Conniff, MichaelConniff. My website is michaelconniff.com. Also, you can find this podcast on all the major podcast platforms: Apple, Audible, Amazon, down the line, at least 10 or 12 of them at last count, and also on YouTube. So please rate us, subscribe to us, and by all means, let us know how you feel. So thanks for listening. Thanks to Courtney Presto of Presto. And thanks to all of you for listening to The Accelerator. We'll be back again with another podcast before you know it.